Hi guys, we're back. Roy Cousins here with our weekly program, Market Video Analytics. I'm partnering up here with Light Forex Broker to give you this exclusive program. So I really hope you're going to enjoy this session. Today, I want to have a direct follow-up on a session we had about 2 weeks ago on the euro dollar, where I declared that there is a potential major downside move in the pipeline. The title was Major Downside Move Around the Corner. That was the exact title, so you can go ahead and check that out if you didn't already. But I feel that it's very important to revisit the euro dollar because there were really interesting developments taking place over the last couple of weeks. And I also want to update on my conviction. I had a bearish conviction, but I was conditioning that bearish conviction with a break of a very particular key level. And I was very specific about it. And ever since then, I want to revisit the euro dollar and show you what happened. And I actually, I'm going to give you a little bit spoiler. I actually flipped over. I got out of that short position, flipped over, and right now I'm actually in a bullish position, in a pretty decent sized position right now. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Today is a critical day for the euro dollar. If things are a little bit still unclear with regards to the technical situation, by the end of today, which is the last day of this month, February, I think we're going to have a major resolution. So, are you ready? Let's go ahead and dive in. So guys, like I said, I had to go back to the euro dollar, even though in terms of chronological events, I should have been revisiting right now the euro yen, which was, I actually done the euro yen session before the euro dollar. But this is really critical moment for the euro dollar, so I had to come back and also, obviously, give you the update with regards to my personal conviction because it had changed over the last couple of weeks. So if you remember, and if not, go ahead and check that video, 12th of February. We were talking about a very particular key level, the 1255. Remember this bottom key level that I was prepared for price to break, and I thought that if it's going to break that level, it's going to go, really far. It's going to go far on the downside in what seems to be a major trend. And ever since then, I have reanalyzed the situation and reestimated the conviction on the euro dollar. Basically, what happened was that I started a short position. It went well at the beginning, and it landed right on that 1255. Now, I was expecting a breakdown, but obviously what happened was that price found a very formidable support and began to turn around. That was pretty much the moment I split. I closed my short position and decided that I'm going to wait and respect this key level as my official trigger, because even back then, when we had that session on the euro dollar, I declared that this is my official trigger level, but I did jump the gun a little bit and pull the trigger kind of prematurely based on my understanding of the technical situation. Having said that, things have changed. When price was failing to break that 1255, I reanalyzed the euro dollar and came to a different conclusion. Now, I coupled that analytics with the dollar index, right? So when I was analyzing the dollar index, I noticed that there was a huge potential on the downside. So I figured out that the euro dollar may actually go up instead of down. And let me show you some of the indications that I was able to find, right? So first, like I said, this is the last day of the trading month. I'm still not sure, I'm still not too confident with the situation here on the euro dollar, even though I do have a decent sized position right now on the euro dollar. But I'm mostly focused right now on the short-term perspective, meaning since price was failing to break that bottom key level at 1255 and started to turn around, I thought to myself that a safe move will take price just back to the upper section here And this is why I was focusing on this particular level, 114.53, and that's where I have one of my price targets, right? This is a primary price target for now, but from the long-term perspective, right? From the long-term perspective, when I reanalyzed the situation, this is what I found out. Take a look. So we have this black system here, right? This is a very kind of premature setup, and it's premature because we only have two legs here. Let me show you exactly what I mean. This was the first leg, right? And this was the second leg. Now price, ever since it ended that second leg on the downside, it actually started trading sideways, right? It started trading horizontally. And it did that in a very narrow fashion, right? But when I was expecting price to break 12.55 and it failed and began to turn around right here, yeah, I took it to the monthly chart. I was trying to figure out what the hell is going on here, right? Is this just a temporarily halt where price is just temporarily kind of stopping before it's going to continue and break that level eventually? Or am I looking at this the wrong way, right? So I took it to the monthly chart and I want to show you what I saw. And I think this is pretty important stuff. So like I showed you, there were only two legs in this formation, which is usually not enough for me to base my trading activities on that setup. But in this case, take a look what happened here, right? And I want you to take a close look on the mid-low key level here, 114.22, right? So at first we have the first leg. Let me mark this down for you so it's easy. This was the first leg, right? And what we just saw on the weekly bar, on the weekly chart, this was the second leg. Now price broke here, broke that 14.22 when it closed well below, decisively below, right? And basically that level from a support, it very quickly turned into resistance, and you can see that right here the following month when price was actually on the upside for the most of the month, but it was challenging that 14.22, trying to break back up, and it failed, right? It just left a spike. Price went straight back to the low, to the lower part of that setup. So that was an interesting failure here, but this was also, I think, the first time price officially acknowledged that key level, 14.22, right? Now take a look what happened here the following month. So we're talking now December, right? Price actually made it. It broke. Take a look at the close. It's 14.30. I mean, it's very tight, not to say the least. That's not decisive, but it is. It did close above 14.22, right? 14.30. But I was still suspicious at that time because that was not a decisive break. What happened here last month, the following month, which was January, was really impressive stuff. For me, I mean, price acknowledged that key level from below, right, as a resistance. And then when price broke that key level, even it did that by only 8 pip, it reconfirmed it the following month on January, when it started strongly on the downside but pulled back all the way, right, just to close right inside. So it basically that's evidence that price not only acknowledging that key level, huge respect, but also that this key level, which was just recently a resistance, turned into a support, right? So I wanted to revisit the euro dollar right now. So this is pretty much the conclusion I came to. So I came to the conclusion that price is actually going to go up rather than down. If you add the fact that it failed on my trigger level at 12.55, and now I see this type of behavior coming from the monthly perspective, I thought to myself, maybe actually the euro is heading upwards, right? So I quickly pulled the trigger and flipped over. But I want to say this is very important, guys. We are today, this is the last day of the trading month, this trading month, February, right? which is why it's so critical, and which is why I had to come back here, right? I had to come back here and give you a shout out about my, my insights with regards to the technical picture here. If we're not going to be able to climb all the way back, and it's not really challenging for the euro dollar to cover, 45 pip by the end of the day, right? It's very, it's very probable, but it is critical that it does so. So by the end of the day, which is going to be by the end of the month, you know how much weight I like to give the close of the trading session. In this case, it's the monthly close, which is the highest authority possible. So I have to see price go all the way back, and by the end of the day, remain above 1422, right? This is critical stuff. If it's not going to do so, I think I may have to basically pull out completely from my bullish position, and possibly stay on the sidelines for a while to see how things are going to play out, or even flip over again. Even though I gotta say I have some reservation with regards to that. Let's say price will not close above 1422, will actually close below, right? Just as it is right now. It still can complete the blue setup before, and I think it's actually quite likely, before it's going to crash altogether. So it could still respect the close of the monthly bar below 1422 and still make it to the upper level on the local, right, on the blue setup. So just imagine this, that we're going to complete the move towards the upper section here, but then price will capitulate and then break back below. And by next month, it will still be below that 1422 that we were talking about, right? Because if I take just the short-term perspective, I just measure that blue system here, and I break down this, the different legs. I think this is the count. Let me show you. I'm pretty sure this is the count. I mean, no doubt, this was a very hectic trading range, very hectic sideways movement. Makes it difficult to count the legs, but this is what I think is going on. I think we had the first leg here, followed by the second leg, and that this whole violent structure all the way up was the third leg, and this 3-segment move was the fourth leg, right? So I think we're playing out the fifth leg right now, which obviously is pointing upwards, and I think we're going to be able to finish it, right? So now, right now, I'm just talking about short-term perspective, this blue system. I think it's very likely that price will make it all the way to 1453. And then, well, if we'll end up by the end of today, right, above 1422, then I'll have the confidence to keep going and take it to the medium to long-term perspective, meaning taking it all the way to 1693. Guys, that's my final destination, as long as we're right about this, right? As long as we're right about reading this in the euro dollar technical picture here. So I'm involving here not only the monthly close, which is going to be by the end of the day, but also, I should say, the weekly close. Let's take a look at the weekly close. Also quite interesting stuff, because right now, I mean, if you look at last week, just last week, right? Price was attempting to break the mid-low key level 1348, which was my main point of reference up until, it still is, by the way, when you look at the weekly chart, it still is, right? But the fact that it failed to break through last week was a little bit concerning to me. And I'm still concerned that it's going to do the same, it's going to replicate that move this week. So by the end of the week, it could also go back, right? And eventually close below 1348, leave another spike even taller than the one we had last week. And that's definitely not going to be a good sign, to say the least, right? But like I said, I still think that, at least from a short-term perspective, it's more likely that we will reach the upper section, which is this right here, right? Starting with a level of 1453. So I'm going to be very cautious now, especially if price is not going to close by the end of the month, by the end of today. If it's not going to close above 1422, I'm going to have to be very cautious with this position, as I'm going to address it only from a short-term perspective, keeping in mind that from the big picture actually points out for further downside moves, right? So I'm going to have to flip over the second time. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty remarkable stuff. This is a classic make or break situation right now happening in the euro dollar. And there you go. This is pretty much it. I mean, aside from the fact, let me take you again to the daily chart. You can actually see what happened here in the last last week or so, right? Ever since price failed to break below the bottom key level here, the bottom support 1255, which was the last line of resort, right? The last line of support here, it went straight to the mid-high key level, which is no surprise. But take a look how many attempts it took the euro dollar to break that key level, right? Take a look, 4 consecutive attempts to break through, right? 4 days in a row, price was just spiking the hell of that key level, but every single time coming back and closing right below. Now, when I saw that, I was concerned that, this key level may actually prevail, but I kept my position in. I had a small position. I knew that only once price crossed that 1348, I will begin, I'll increase my position. Not by much, because I'm still waiting for the resolution coming that should arrive by the end of today with regards to that monthly close. If we'll have the right monthly close above 1422, right, so price can easily make it by the end of the day. That would be very good. That would be very important, and I will go ahead and increase my position right away and try to, to push it as big as possible, getting prepared for a long, kind of medium to long-term upside move. Now, if I take it back again to the weekly chart just to conclude this session, let me refresh your memory. This is a unestablished trading range. Now I'm talking about the black one, right, coming from the weekly chart. It is unestablished because we only have 2 legs. So usually I don't play out the third leg. It's too risky. But in this case, because of the behavior we saw from price action on the monthly chart and the fact that we have a second setup, right, the blue one, that definitely helps when it comes to fine-tuning, the very pinpoints, right, the very tipping points of every single move in that trading range. So I think we can trust this setup just as well. I'm talking about the black one. I think we can definitely, I think it's more likely that we'll see the third leg, right? The third leg, because we only had 2 so far. Everything that started from that, the tip of the second leg and up until now is still part of the second leg. Or you can call it a part of the third leg. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is that at some point, this very tight range is going to explode, right? The question is, to where that, to what direction, right? So I think since we do have already 2 legs, right? And when we analyze the local trading range, we find that this could be the last 6th leg going forward. I think it's likely that we'll see that third leg, right? First, second, is going to be third leg. It's going to complete the move eventually once it hits that higher section, starting with level 1693, which is why I chose that key level to be my final destination. So, no doubt, the situation becomes increasingly interesting right now, fascinating, I would say. I would definitely come back to follow up on the euro dollar, guys. I'm not going to leave you in the dark. But I did give you some guiding lines for the next few days, right? By the end of the day and by the end of the week. So you're pretty much equipped with my game plan and what I plan to do right here with the euro dollar. All right, guys, I think that's enough for today. I hope you enjoyed the session. That's about that. Till next time, guys, be well.